Welcome back to Brothers Fab and Adventure. You notice that our tracks on the Trackster are pretty much track. Luckily, when we got this machine, it came with a new set of tracks, so we're gonna go ahead and put those on today. There's the track that's really destroyed. Here's the new tracks. Looks like all we should have to do is take this bolt out here so this bar will come out, and then loosen the tensioner down here, and then we'll get the track right off. All right, this bar.
Couldn't find a big socket.
I don't know if I have one deep enough. All right. This seems pretty tight. I don't know how we're hooking it up. What the best plan of action is.
Maybe we block some wood up under it so we can get rid of some of the sag.
Yeah.
And then we both try to stretch it.
Alright, I was wrong. We also had to remove these two bolts to allow this whole wheel assembly to drop down, and now we should be able to pull it off of here and just spin it off.
Got to walk off the bogey wheel on the first set of logs here, so we're going to try to spin it and walk it off kind of like a bike chain would fall off a sprocket. But
Maybe.
it doesn't want to move. That's not going to help. Okay, we could try to do that way. Okay. There it is. Woo-hoo! Hopefully we're in the shot.
I don't know. We got it though. We got it.
I'd imagine we might figure something out that makes the other side a little easier. Hopefully.
You have to figure out how this thing comes out of here. Yay! One track!
Woo! That should make life a little easier.
How will make it going? Oh, those look pretty nice. A little stiff.
Close to there.
Gonna be able to get it in there?
Let's see here.
I think there it goes.
Nice.
There it goes, yeah. Whew.
That was tough.
Yeah, these new tracks, we probably should have opened them up and let them warmed up or something.
Yeah. Whew. I don't know, maybe taking the sprocket off up front would help. Hard to say.
Now that we got the track on there and all aligned, we're getting all the bolts back in there and then the tensioner nut on there. We'll tighten those 3 bolts and then we'll get it tensioned. Now just loosening the other tensioner. It's supposed to sit in that hole like that.
Yeah, but it was turned around.
Yeah, it was like that. Then the 3 bolts that hold the back piece on.
That looks like we got some slack.
Now we're above the thing.
So we gained a little slack there.
Maybe.
Hopefully. We didn't need much, you know.
Close. Kind of stiff.
Yeah, imagine that. It's like freezing out right now.
You know, perfect time to put rubber tracks on.
Yeah. Why put tracks on until it's freezing cold and snowing?
So this assembly would have been a little easier to drop it down like we did the other side. Coming up the top was a little bit harder. It's still stuck. There it goes. So we got the parking brake here, which won't clear. So we're probably just gonna take it off.
May clear, but we don't want to fight it, so.
Yeah. We'd at least have to trim off this part here because the new tracks have a lot more tread.
All right, change of plans. We're actually going to cut part of the parking brake off the little ripple that hangs down, so that should give us clearance instead of having to remove the whole thing.
And now for the struggle of the second track.
Start with the sprocket again on this one.
So stiff.
There it is.
Woo, that was rough. Oh man.
Well, one struggle down.
All right.
3 more to go.
We gotta push this back.
Yeah, I got it from here if you want to just get this carriage assembly or whatever.
Well, I gotta get this jack stand kind of in here to hold this somewhat.
Okay. Let's get some tension. I don't want to pull it too much more.
No, you're good.
I'm going to drag it off to the side.
You're good. That's perfect, I think.
So we're just going to pry with this guy.
Yeah.
Forward, then back and up.
Yeah. Eventually it'll go. I think we're... Packs are on. Good job, brother.
You know,
Well.
we struggled through it.
We made it, though.
All right, so those are pretty good. We just got to get the tension just where we want it, and we should be good to go.
So we're gonna roll it forward a few feet and then backward a few feet. Try to get to the opposite side of the track and then check straight edge. We're looking for about a 1/2 inch of sag.
Now that we got the new tracks on there and we took it out for a test drive, we weren't super happy with how it was running mechanically, so we got to pull it into the garage here now.
We're gonna bypass the governor, tune the carburetor a little bit, add a tachometer and a new 70 amp alternator to it.
We're going to start tearing it apart and get this thing done.
Nope.
The things we're going to have to do is disconnect the steering linkage here to the hydrostatic pump, and that'll allow us to get this cover off to access the carburetor.
So now that we got the air filter all off, we can start taking apart all the choke and throttle linkage and governor. We'll just eliminate all of that.
There we go.
The governor will pull over this way and we'll just run a spring to a bolt right here to hold it back. And since we're this far, we're gonna go ahead and pull the carb and remove the fuel solenoid because that gave us problems in the beginning. So we'll take this off and take the plunger and spring out of it and then use the bolt to seal it back up.
The adjustment screws for the carb are hidden under these little capped ports on it, so you just got to get the cap out of the way. And what we're doing is just using a screw to get a bite on it and then pull it back out. So we'll show you what that looks like here.
There, we took one out.
Yeah, this one's been removed and this is still capped, so you just kind of get the screw going in that and then pull it out.
Out it comes.
To bypass the governor, this bracket here has to go away. It's the bracket that holds basically the throttle and the choke cables. So to relocate the cables, we're just going to go ahead and hack off what was holding them on before. Once they're hacked off, we just got to drill a hole and bolt them onto the intake like this.
And on the inside here, I took all the plastic coverings off so I can go ahead and mount the flywheel adapter and pulley for the alternator. So we rerouted the cables and this is how it turned out. They should be plenty strong. They don't need much. Got this flywheel PTO kit off of eBay. Got a 70 amp alternator off of eBay and a pulley off of Amazon and a 1/4 inch keyway. You can buy a kit for like 300 bucks and then have to buy an alternator on top of that. I'll just have to make the bracketry for it, which actually works a lot better because I can't use the brackets online because it mounts it on the wrong side of the motor. Kind of show you what I mean. It mounts on the right side of the motor online, and I have a bunch of stuff over there.
Alright, so we got the choke cable all reconnected here where we want it. And now we're just going to work on getting the throttle cable connected here. So everything's more of a direct connection here.
Yep, so we got our bracket, and then we just did a hook on this so we can attach it to our linkage here. So just got to put the spindle on the flywheel here. Goes on pretty easy. Get them all started. I got the covers on to see where our clearances are, so we'll throw the pulley on there. Maybe. There we go. So we're gonna have to come off just at least a little bit.
Yeah, like at least an 1/8 or 3/16.
Yeah. We'll try to slide this guy in there if we can. And we don't want it to stick out all the way, so we'll probably end up cutting this shaft here, but we'll see if it clears.
We've been racking our brain around where and how to get this alternator on here, and the most obvious place to us is this big cavity over here, where there's nothing in the way. There's plenty of room for it. So unfortunately, the motor is got a little bit of a tilt to it, and it's slightly turned to one side, and the framing that we have to potentially mount this thing to is in a different plane. It's pretty close to being in an area where we can work with, but it's not exactly perfect. How we're going to figure out what plane the alternator needs to be in, we went ahead and clamped a piece of 1/4 inch thick angle iron to the face of the pulley on the motor so that we can basically put the face of the pulley of the alternator against that angle iron and make sure it's all aligned perfectly. Then we can go ahead and tack some brackets together off the existing framing and see if this theory worked out for us or not. But we're going to go ahead and show you the brackets real quick here.
We got one bracket to fill in the C channel, one for the alternator, and one to space it off of that C channel just a little bit. But it'll kind of be somewhat weird like that, and we might have to fill it in with some metal and weld. And
we'll just fill
we'll
some
make
gaps.
it look good. Luckily, this is all scrap, so it's just free.
So basically, you can see here we got the angle attached to the motor down there, and we just hold the alternator pulley against the face of the angle, and our brackets are going to have some adjustments so that if we're not perfectly aligned front to back, we can adjust it probably within a 1/4 inch at least. So hopefully this should work out pretty good. Now it kind of turns into a little bit of a circus act. He's got to hold the alternator in place, and I've got to hold this plate to connect the bracket on the alternator to the tube we just used to fill in that U channel there.
We can run different size belts. We got plenty of room here.
You gotta figure out the bottom mount, the tensioner mount side of it.
But that should be fairly easy.
But yeah, and you can see, yeah,
it's all pretty close in line.
It's all pretty much in alignment, and there's room for adjustment if needed in the front to back manner, which is all that should matter. Everything else seems to be in a good plane.
And if we don't like the alignment, we can get a little bit of twist out of it by that lower bracket we build. Jay's over here making the tensioner bracket. It's kind of an angled thing.
I'm working on the tensioner bracket here. We tacked it on and rotated the alternator through its arc to get what we need cut out. And I'm just gently curving it with the grinder here, so. should work pretty good. I cut it on one side, got the curve to where I wanted it, where we had marked it, and then I flipped it over to make sure it was even distance towards the edges. Now we'll just clean these ends up with a die grinder. Kind of smooth the whole arc out. Maybe a little oversized, but we rather that than risk having it drag throughout the arc and not be able to move to where it needs to, basically.
And we got a little bit of a pivot, which will tighten our belt. Boom, look at that.
All right, so as you can see, we got the alternator out of there and our brackets are all in place. I did a couple of welds on it already. I'm gonna go ahead and finish getting it welded out now, and I'm gonna do it in stages and jump around so nothing gets too hot and warps, because it's pretty critical that it stays where we want it. All that's left now is to weld the tube here to the channel up above. I kind of want to put the alternator in there just to make sure everything's still good. It's still looking pretty good. I got most of that welded, but that top seam right there, I got to get on the channel, the tube to the channel. That weld right there on the top tube to the channel as well. Alright, so now that we got the brackets for the alternator all done, we went ahead and put some paint on it.
Fresh paint.
And we're working on removing the voltage regulator.
To remove it, it's just 2 8mm and a plug. There it is. We just got done checking the clearance on this inner panel with the new shaft we put on for the pulley. And sure enough, it is contacting. You can kind of see this roughed up mark here. So we're either have to drill a hole in this or shorten the shaft. And I think we're going to choose to shorten the shaft.
Go ahead and get this end of it right here all cut off. And we'll have enough thread left that will give us a good pilot hole to drill it deeper and tap a little bit more so that we can have our end cap bolt here. We got all the wiring for the alternator done. We ran a 6-gauge wire from it to the starter here.
Here.
Right down to here. And then I ran a excite wire from here to the key on power. So now I'm just working on the tachometer. I'm adding, there's a temperature sensor that comes with it. So I'm putting that on a head bolt here. And then this yellow wire right here is going to get wrapped 4 to 5 times around the wire going to the spark plug. And then we should have a functioning tachometer, I think. It's time to fire it up and see how the carb adjustments that Justin made worked out for us.
I think we should probably loosen this belt a little bit.
Yeah, it seems like that crank has a bit of wobble.
Yeah.
Dude, that still is like crazy off.
Now to put the hub back on, since we sanded it down a little bit, it should fit it better.
It actually goes on my hand now. So yeah, I don't know if we really explained it well the first time, or when we took this all apart to troubleshoot it. Basically, we found that the hub wasn't flushly seated against the flywheel, and we think that the reason behind that is that it was such a tight tolerance, and the edge that it mates to on the flywheel is so sharp that when we tried to put them together, it kind of dug into the aluminum hub, pushed that metal to the bottom of it, and that little 10,000ths of an inch or whatever it was, that it wasn't sitting perfectly flush, allowed the shaft to have a pretty significant wobble. So it's a good thing that we figured that out before we just ran it, because that would have created some problems down the road, undoubtedly. We also heated the hub up before we put it on this time to help it be a little bit more expanded than its mating surface on the flywheel. So it seems like it's helped. We'll find out here in a little bit if it really did or not, but I have a feeling it definitely should.
It seemed to go on a lot easier. Oh.
Yeah, it definitely did. You had to use the bolts to pull it on before.
Round 2. Looks a little better.
Definitely looks better. It seems like it still might have some wobble, but I'm not totally sure if it's an optical illusion or what. If I just hold my finger in a fixed place, then I should be able to feel it. It does have a little bit. We're not. We're talking like a 30-second maybe. All right. It's definitely a lot better. We got this thing tuned up to where we like it, and we had another little issue. The alternator wasn't charging initially. We figured out that we also had to connect the black wire to a power source. That was actually the excite wire, not the red one. They both need to be connected to a power source, but at any rate, it works now. So we're going to button this up, take it out for a little test where we can put it under load a bit, run all the lights, and see what kind of improvement we've got. It's a whole different beast now. Holy crap.
Whew. So you think it was worth it to do that work?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's totally different. Like, it gets a little out of control sometimes. I'm like, I thought I throttled back, and it's still like, it's, you really got to be on the, this is like even more sensitive than before, because you know when you feel it bogging down, you can throttle it up.
Yeah.
But then as soon as you back off of this, you need to be coming back off the throttle before you want to come back on this.
Yeah.
Because if you come back on this first, it's wanting to like rev out.
So know? Do you think we want like a gas pedal maybe?
No. Pissed off to do that before. I don't think it would have done it. I'd say that was is better than before, huh?
Oh yeah, it's definitely working a lot better. It's just gonna be a lot to get used to. Dang, that is way different and way better. It has so much more power and ability to just work the throttle now.
Like, you were climbing the hill and you were spinning tracks.
Yeah,
It
we
would
couldn't do that
have
before.
stalled out on you if we had tried that hill before, either of those hills.
No. So
Yeah.
it's a lot better, definitely worth the change.
Yeah, definitely a good upgrade.
That'll be it for this time.
Hopefully we get some snow and we can give it a proper test with the plow and some bigger hills around our house here.
And maybe an adventure.
Thanks for watching.
Please like, share, and subscribe
Until next time,
on Brothers Fab and Adventure.